Hello, this is Talo Drive-thru Therapy, the real sessions where we talk about real topics that you can use and that you deal with every day. In therapy, I am so privileged to get to see and collect data for years about what people go through and milestones. And I really take a lot of time and have a lot of respect for the information data I collect. I want to make sure that when I'm hearing someone, I'm hearing something accurately, not my biases filtering it, but really what they're saying, how they're telling their story. And I bring it to you, those constant themes that us humans work on and go through. I'm going to bring that over to you so you guys can see that you're not alone, that there's somebody else dealing with the same problem that you're dealing with, and that there's a way to look at it differently. Because that's all we're doing on the inside. We're just living out the filter that we see everything in. That's all we're doing, friends. We're reacting to our own filter. Whatever it is that we see, our worldview, our life, we're not reacting to reality. Most of us on earth are not really reacting to reality. We react to our filter. This filter includes our experiences, programming, trauma, memories, all of those things that compile and develop the filter that we have. We have two parts of that filter. It's an unconscious filter and a conscious filter, right? An unconscious filter includes maybe some of the things I don't know that I might be experiencing. Like maybe I think women are inferior, for example. That might be an unconscious thing. I won't admit it to myself consciously, but subconsciously, I have that filter and I might react on that. My behaviors will definitely demonstrate that in some way. Or consciously, I might say, no, I think women and men are equal. But unconsciously, I don't really think that. So an example of a conscious level filtering would be something like, I am a Republican. I am a Democrat. I'm part of this association. I'm part of the teachers association. I'm part of the, I'm a female. I'm a male. And these are the things that I subscribe to. Like there's things that you'll admit to yourself consciously and that you'll participate and it'll be out loud. And that's your conscious filter. So you, me, everyone has a filter. And that filter is something that what we deal with in therapy. That's the purpose of being in therapy, really, is to look at that filter. And to not only look at the conscious filter, that's cool, but the really, meat and potatoes of all of it is the subconscious filter. What the hell is that doing in my life? How am I responding or reacting in ways that consciously I'm refusing to admit that is there? That's the stuff that therapy is made for. So tonight, I'm talking about something that could be a conscious and a subconscious filter, both. And I need you to know what that's doing in your life. And it's a very famous one. It's a popular one. Almost everybody perceives as a sign of strength when they say it out loud. But I want to make sure that I dismantle it so you no longer think of it as a sign of strength. It's like you're wearing your trauma on your sleeve. That's what I want you to think about it, which is called trust issues. People will say this with pride. They'll say, I just have trust issues. I know I have trust issues. And I'm thinking, okay, why are they saying it like that? Like that's not something I would be flaunting, but it's a form of defense, right? If I have to say it out loud, I'm telling people like, don't lie to me. Please don't disappoint me. What you say and what you do needs to match. Like I'm trying to control what's outside when I say I have trust issues. I think that is about people. But let me tell you now, so you know, when you're saying that, it's about the person who's saying that. It isn't about people. Trust issues isn't about people. People are flawed. They're imperfect. You can consciously know that, but on a subconscious level, which is, I'm going to tell you, more powerful, it's going to be something that might be in disagreement with that understanding. On the inside, I might be thinking subconsciously that people should be behaving a certain way. People should act a certain way and have a strong response to it. So I want you to know that trust issues, first and foremost, are not a character flaw or a deficit. It's not something that you're born with. It's basically a way of survival. An adaptation is how we want to say that. Trust issues really begins from early on because a baby, I want you to notice, the baby is vulnerable, is the most vulnerable thing. It cannot protect itself. It needs protection from others. A child, same way, right, as they age. And so when the needs are not met in the need of safety and security for children, or having some sort of control age appropriately over their life, and it feels out of control, things that are violated about this child's security, their well-being, neglect, all of that starts to introduce that idea that vulnerability will have consequences. That's the belief that drives all this trust issue business, is that vulnerability has consequences. That's what is learned at that point. So the child learns to adapt by, of course, preparing for how they're going to be disappointed, how they're going to be hurt. They are in self-protection mode. So the filter starts to now become heavily filtering how other people may disappoint me, may hurt me, and I want to prepare for that. I'm suspicious of that world. That's the filter of trust issues. I think people essentially are a threat. People are a threat. That's what my filter is saying. If I have, and I'm saying out loud, and I'm saying even, not so loud, that I have trust issues. That's what that means. I perceive people as a threat. Now, the threat isn't a physical threat. I want to make sure I point out. The threat is the emotional threat. People are emotionally threatening. That's what you're saying out loud. That's what you're saying out loud when I say, I have trust issues. It does not sound powerful. It sounds like I am my trauma. Go ahead and just know that I have trauma and I am my trauma, and I'm not going to give you a chance. I'm just going to see you as my trauma. I'm going to respond to you as my trauma. I'm not going to see who you are. That's what that means when I say I have trust issues. So I want you to know that it's not a powerful statement I make. It is not an intelligent one, if you will. It is something that is defensive and something that eventually limits the ability to enjoy people, because my filter sees them as a threat. How the heck am I going to connect with them? I'm not going to enjoy them. I can maybe start having what is called a relationship with people, but it will kind of look funny. It'll be maybe manipulative. Maybe it'll seek to play games because I'm defensive on the inside. I don't read people right. I'm not an accurate reader of people. I have a filter. I don't see them as they are. I see them as my past. I see them as a threat, and I'm going to find the threat. This is a rough life, because people that have trust issues are the loneliest people in the world. They live in constant stress and constant misery. Of course they do. The world has a lot of people. And if I can't enjoy them or enjoy myself with them, because I think my vulnerability has consequences, then I'm going to shut down with people. I'm going to limit my ability to connect with them, my vulnerability towards them. There's going to be no emotional intimacy, because that requires vulnerability, and that requires the ability to gamble a little bit of trust, because that's what trust is a gamble. You're going to get trust a little bit and see if they'll respond back. But if they don't, well, then there's your answer. It doesn't mean that I am not a good enough person for them to behave this way. It just means that that's who they are. That's what they're about. Okay. The behavior represents them. It does not represent me, is another way to say that. So we know that trust issues is an adaptive trait, something that people develop later as a way of survival. It does affect the nervous system, as trauma in general does affect the nervous system. It shakes it up a bit, because now I'm paying attention to fear, and fear has its own chemistry, its own loud chemistry on the inside. And if you have a consistent habit that we formed of being suspicious and being guarded or very highly alert around people, then you are consistently going to collect and gather data, and worse, translate this data from a place of suspicion, a place of cynicism, pessimism towards people, and distrust towards people. So you're constantly producing chemistry that affects your nervous system, but not in a great way. We call that stress. And fight or flight response, because I perceive something as a threat. When your brain perceives something as a threat, you're going to produce that chemistry of stress hormones. Fight or flight response is going to be also an appropriate response for perceiving threat in the brain. Now, I want you to know that the brain does not care. It does not care whether the threat is right here, this year in 2026, or the threat is encountered back in 2001. It does not care. It does not care when the event or the trauma occurred or the experience of disappointment occurred. It doesn't care. It'll continue to see people that way. Even if the event happened in 2001, it'll continue to, in 2026, continue to carry on the habit that I need to protect myself because in 2021, I experienced this. So now I have to protect myself of the possibility of this happening again. So it's going to look out for possible threats. At that point, the brain now is programmed to look for possible threats in people. Oh, this is rough, friends. I see this often in therapy. Trusting people, intimacy, vulnerability, love, these things that we say a lot, they're wonderful things, but they require one of the hardest things to do, and that is called risk. As human beings, we don't like to take risk. We like certainty. We like to know that the person is going to be with us forever before we start to become vulnerable with them. And that is not the case of life. Life is, all uncertain. We cannot predict the future. We're just going to have to take the risk. And today we can't go on in life without taking those risks, because without taking them, it'll result in our need to control others, our need to control ourselves to the point of sterilization. Disinfect myself of any possible uncertainty. That's what it's going to result in. But it's going to disappoint me and get me lonelier and lonelier and more disappointment and more disappointment. Because people will see that I am defensive. They'll see that I don't trust them. They'll know that they're not being enjoyed and I'm not comfortable with them. And they're going to also post their defenses because they have those instincts too. And it'll just validate the hell out of my view. I'll just keep collecting. We'll see that other person acted this way. They're not to be trusted, right? But they're defensive with me because I'm in fact could be possibly defensive with them. I can't help it. No human can. If your intention is set to find them as a threat, it will be performed outward. No matter how nice you're trying to be, we can see it. We can sense it when you are inauthentic. We can sense that we're not being enjoyed. I tell you this as this is a business practice, something that I had to learn to earn a living. If people feel like they're not being truly enjoyed, they'll know. And so I'm telling you that if I don't really intentionally set myself to emotionally enjoy another person, to just enjoy them, not judge them, but just really enjoy them, just enjoy listening to them, just enjoy and feel honored to just kind of be in that moment with them and just enjoy the moment with them, whatever the moment is. If I don't set my intentions to that, people will see it. Clients will see it. Partners will see it. My son will see it. So making sure that your intentions, which also includes heavily your filter, because that's a major part of your filter. Those intentions are set on purpose to whatever it is you want to do it. And in the case of trust issues, you really want to set it to, instead of I don't trust people and that people are going to harm me and hurt me and disappoint me, I want us to set it to, I want to see people as they are and they owe me nothing but honesty. Repeat after me. People owe me nothing but honesty, meaning that they'll show me what their honest, true intentions are. They could say, for example, that they love me, but they may not find this a priority in their actions, and I'll see it. At that point, that's my answer. It doesn't mean that I'm not worthy, that their behavior is indicative of my value. That is not the case. It's representing them. Their behaviors represent them. That's one of the first things I want to talk about when I want to keep my mind safe when I'm dealing with people. The thing I got to remember is that people's behavior, their thoughts, their own filter represents them. I'm not in control of their filter. I'm not in control of their behaviors or responses. I'm not the reason why they behave this way. They are choosing to behave the way they're behaving. Knowing that helps me quite a bit. So when I'm looking at a person, for example, that didn't respond to me in a kind way, I'm not blaming myself for it. Like, I'm not saying to myself, what did I do that caused them to do that? That would be an old wound. Did I interrupt that and say, no, they're allowed to show me the truth, and the truth is their behavior. Cool. Like, that is what the truth is. So a person owes me nothing but the truth, and I'll see it, friends. They should do nothing except what this is truthful and authentic to them, and I'll see it. I'll see it. I'll hear it. I'll know it. It's in front of me. So I want people to switch their intention and their filter to setting it on. People will show me who they are. They always will. How we know this is because people are consistent in their behavior. They're consistent in the way they solve problems across the board. So they're not very good at hiding. I even learned that from inmates. Inmates are the best at hiding, the best at putting on a front. And I can tell you for sure that even them, they can't even hide. And because that's the power of the human brain and habit. It likes to perform the habit over and over again. To do something new requires the brain to slow down, and it doesn't like to slow down to learn new things or do new things or try out new things. So it'll just go back to habit. So count on this. Habit is king. People will always go back to habit. I'll go back to habit unless I am intentional about what change I'm trying to make here. I want to briefly mention what you'll do if you have trust issues. So even if you're not saying you have trust issues, you do have that by those. And you'll notice it in other people as well. So I want to give you some of the key characteristics of people with trust issues. First of all, the most important one is that people will assume, again, because their filter is already predicting disappointment, they're going to assume that somebody else's intentions is to hurt them. So let's say call someone, but they don't call you back. An assumption that could be taken quickly is maybe that they're trying to play games with me. They don't like me. They're trying to hurt me or manipulate me in some way. This is something that's so simple. Person not return a call. It could be for many reasons. But my automatic assumption early on, if I don't know this person, could be taken this way. This happens quite a bit to me. People project some interesting ideas about just me, especially if I play as a role of the therapist. Some people will project intentions onto me, and they may get offended about something, and I'm thinking, okay. And today I've learned to just be like, they're allowed to be offended. They're allowed their feelings. They're allowed to show me where they're at, and then I can work with that. So that helps me a bit. But when you're not a therapist and you're kind of reading this in the real world, you're just kind of looking at it like this person is cruel or they're being mean, but they're really not. They're just kind of responding to their own filter. But it doesn't mean that you need to continue with them and not make boundaries. If, for example, if in fact that the person consistently is inconsistent with their behavior and their response towards you, and you would like more consistency, the answer is just that they're more inconsistent. I don't need to tell them that they're inconsistent. Because that's bigger than me to solve, right? Whatever they got, whatever filter they got that they're reacting to, that's bigger than me to clean up for them. So I don't clean up people's filters like that. I just kind of like, well, okay, that's how they responded. That's how they act. I just become clear and I make a boundary, whatever I need to do on my own, to save them from themselves, because they know not what they do. So if a person has, I don't know, some, strange filter where they perceive me as a threat and they come at me in that way, that's okay. Like, they could do that, but I'll see it hopefully soon. And I'll make a boundary with that without letting them know that they have trust issues. I don't need to be their teacher today. I just kind of like, okay, unless you're in therapy, we don't need to give you that feedback, because you're not asking for it in the real world. So a person with trust issues is going to have assumptions. They're going to react on these assumptions. They're going to jump into conclusions. And this will be seen really early on, friends. Let's say you're dating someone, you'll see this early on. They'll jump into conclusions and react on them. Now, what we don't want to do, right, is think that we can fix that. That's how we start to engage with it, rather than like disengage and make a boundary and just like let them go or whatever we need to do early on. No. Our trauma will engage with them. And that's a whole other episode that I probably did something about here. I don't know. You just scroll down, you probably find it. But we don't want to engage. At this point, we just realize like, hey, they have trust issues, and that's okay. They're allowed to be there, and they're allowed to work on it, and it's allowed to cause suffering until they decide like, hey, I'm sick and tired of not being able to connect with others, seeing everybody the same way, the good ones and the not so good ones, seeing them all from the same filter and treating them all the same way. You guys, this is misery. misery. I need you to find this as misery, the definition of misery, where I can't find joy in people. I can't connect with them deeply and intimately because I see them all the same way, and they're all from this, they're all going to disappoint me. One of the things that's going to help us a lot, besides really understanding that we're going to take risk and accepting that, is that people are going to disappoint. They are not perfect. But I need you to know that the second they disappoint you, right? I need you to realize that you're going to survive it. You're going to survive. The human spirit is beautiful at surviving. You don't have to do much, just practice humility and accept that, hey, this is bigger than me. And that I know I feel disappointed and it hurts, but I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive. So I hope this gives you an idea a little bit of when a person has trust issues, what their filter kind of look like. It's going to have distrust. It's going to have suspicion. They're going to always be suspicious of your motives. They're going to misread you. That's another one. Like, they're going to misread you. They're not a good, accurate listener to you. What they repeat back to you, they can twist your words. They can twist your intentions. If you meet someone that twists your intentions and twists your words, run. Just run the other directions. There's no fixing that. They have some work to do, friends. It's not something that you could fix. You cannot teach a person to read you accurately. That's bigger than their filter is causing that. That is bigger than you. That came before you. And unless they decide to choose to see you with different motives and intentions and filter you as you are, run. Do not engage with someone who consistently misreads you and misunderstands you, consistently gets it wrong, not an accurate listener to you. That one there, man, just run. All right. So now we talked about a little bit of those traits that you need to be looking for when you're looking for people with trust issues, to include the trust issues that you may have within yourself. How do I heal that? Like I said earlier, we need to look like, it's not a mystery here, but we need to look like that. We need to look like what we would look like if we did not have these walls posted up, this trauma posted up. We need to start developing and working on intentionally seeing people as they are. And it would look something like this in your head. If the person said something, automatically I start to feel offense. That's your cue to go in there and say, okay, what did this person actually say? And what do I think they said? And you'll find those two things may be quite different if you have trust issues. And if I'm not sure, what's really cool, and I really love this technique, I clarify and I say, when you said da-da-da-da, what did you mean by that? When I do that, it helps me ground myself and say, okay, now I'm seeing that person more accurately in their You don't know how many times that saved me early on because I had the same issue. I saw people from my filter. And it was tragic. Filter is messed up, broken, stinky. And I saw people from my filter, not as they are. And of course, I paid for that mistake. And I want to make sure if I could save people from continuing to harm themselves in that way, that they do that as fast as possible. So people will tell you what they're about. And what we're looking for when we build trust in someone, right? When we're looking at someone, are they consistent with what they say they are? Do they match? Do their words match with what their actions do? Also, do they follow through in all ways? And you'll feel it in your nervous system. You'll feel it in your nervous system because it feels relaxed when you're around them. That's your biggest indicator, friends. If your nervous system around them feels confused, feels on alert, then it's already like you know right from the beginning, like that person is inconsistent, doesn't follow through, says something, but their actions do something else. Go ahead and read it just right. That's what it is. It's just like they don't follow through. I don't need to blame myself for their inability to do that. I don't need to blame my value or attack myself with it. They just can't do it. They just don't follow through. They're inconsistent. That's what I'm looking for. When I'm building trust, I'm looking for those things. If they don't have those things, I'm not going to mention it to them because, again, I know it's bigger than me to fix. I'm just going to jot it down in my head. And then I'm just going to be like, okay, I can expect that of that person. So I know that if I build with them in any form as a relationship, it's going to disappoint me. It's going to continue to disappoint me because this person is going to require constant redirection and reminder to maintain their follow through. Please do this. Please fix the window. Please Please do this. And I'm just going to get disappointed. But I knew all along that they're inconsistent. They're inconsistent and they lack follow through. Of course, those individuals do not put a high percentage of trust on that, if any, right? Just don't put that. Those people deserve that to some extent because their behavior is telling you. But the people that are consistent, that follow through, those individuals they're worth the risk. They're worth the risk because they're consistent. They follow through. They keep their word. It means something to them. But because you have that in you, you also need to protect that wisely. I don't give it to everybody. I do give it to the people that reciprocate or match that energy back. And you don't know how many times I've made friends that way. That's exactly the best gauge to use in developing friendships is, I show up and I, do something and they show up right back. It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be, you got to show me, you got to earn it. You got to show me first here to be trusted. No, I take a risk and I trust them about something and they'll show me whether they're going to show up or not. And if they show up, great. And if they don't show up, great. Both are important data to collect. Just data to collect. It doesn't mean anything about me. It just means it's disappointing that they did not reciprocate that, but thank you for that information. Now I'm going to make sure that I act accordingly. Again, we want to behave in a way in healing, behave in a way where our trauma, we're not representing it. Maybe it's the best way to say that. I'm not my trauma when I'm acting out. You're not seeing my dirty laundry being aired out. You're just looking at me, really. And I'm looking at you. And to be loved, as I always say, is to be seen, friends, to be truly seen. Intimacy is about being seen, is about being loved for who you are. And so allowing people to see you, allowing people to see your humor, to see your flaws, to see your insecurities or inadequacies, let them deal with it. Let them deal with it. And you working on it and you owning it helps a lot. It helps build trust that the other person is like, yeah, that person's working on it. So let's say I'm insecure about something and I act on it. I'll tell the person, hey, that was my insecurity. I apologize. I own it. This builds more trust, friends, that I took accountability instead of gaslighting them and telling them, well, you're crazy. I act this way because you acted this way. What? Like that does not build trust. Deep down inside, we're not building trust this way. Accountability is the first way to build trust on both ends, both receivers of that relationship. So just know that if I'm solving this problem, I'm going to behave in ways where if I didn't have trust issues, what would I look like? What would a healthy person who doesn't flaunt their trust issues out loud and is defensive, what do? They usually wait and give a person a chance, get to know them. They will check whether the person matches, is consistent with their follow through and what they say and what they do. We'll check. And if that doesn't happen, I will gently and kindly release them if I need to release them because I don't want, or if I can't release them, like their family members, for example, I just adjust my expectations. I know they cannot perform to that standard. So I make sure that I adjust my expectations to meet them where they're at. So I don't give them big things that I trust in them. I simply give them little things that they can disappoint me in. They don't have to be consistent with. But I'm like, I just give them that. Not the whole big important thing. We leave these big important things for people that show us, that return or reciprocate, that they're able to follow through as well. But I also have to be a match to that, friends, in order for me to create trust in the other person so I don't post up their defenses. Some people say, well, they got to earn it. No, the heck they don't. It's not really like that. Let me explain. At first, I got to put in a little bit of trust, a little bit, and I got to show them a little bit of vulnerability. Now, they can reciprocate that back and they'll show me what they're going to do with this vulnerability. They're going to show me what they're going to do with it. If they use it against me in some way, well, there's my answer. If they are loyal and they respect it, then wonderful. I saw that. Both are wonderful, again, pieces of information for me to have. People will show me. And if I'm honest with myself, I'll see it. Now, it's going to take me a little bit to see it at times, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to eventually see it. Be honest with ourselves. Take a look at it, but I do need to risk a little bit of trust to see what the other person will do with it. I do need that. I can't be a hoarder with it and expect the other person to not also post up their defenses. Well, they're protecting themselves. Well, I got to protect myself too, right? This just never works. And so it ends up being a cycle where we're yelling at each other and we're arguing with one another. So look, think about the idea of distrusting others is simply a scar, a wound that is wearing an armor. And armors are usually useful in war. They protect us. But I need you to challenge yourself. What happens when the war is over and I no longer need that armor? And that's where we're at. So don't let yourself keep wearing that armor that is just hiding a scar. We're no longer needing to protect. We just need to kind of develop a new way of looking at our life and looking at our world. Think about the people in your life. Are you seeing them as they are, or are you seeing them through the filter of what someone else did to you years ago? Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I hope you found this topic as powerful and as important and necessary as I have in my own life, in my own personal life, as well as in my professional life. So I'm in the business of building trust with others. And, I learned a lot. And people instinctually know whether they are loved and enjoyed and seen accurately. But the more people know that they're being seen accurately by someone, the more they learn to trust them. But if I'm being seen by somebody else's filter and their actions and their past and their filter is how they see me, I don't trust them. I don't trust them because I know they won't really hear me. So thank you guys again so much for joining me tonight. I'm sending you love and light. Be careful not to confuse your intuition with your trauma. One is trying to guide you forward. The other is trying to pull you back to what it recognizes. This has been an episode of Drive-thru.